I'm going to slow roll us to get started, in part because I do want to reward the people who show up on time, to not have you guys sitting around waiting for the people who are still coming. People will come late, that's all right. So let me get this party started. Good afternoon from a sunny, lovely day that hits 60 degrees here in Boston, Massachusetts. Winter's ending. I'm very pleased about that. My name is Erik Fogg. I'm the lead facilitator at Skills for Success, and I'm one of the founders here at Futures Forge. This is my favorite open house of the year because we've got 4 alumni who all generously offered their time on a Saturday to be able to answer your guys' questions, for which I am eternally grateful. What we'll be doing today is we'll be starting with them and questions for them, specifically so that they can get out of here once that's done. And then everyone who wants to stick around and learn more about the course from me and ask me questions that are likely more tailored for me as the lead, you guys can stick around for that. The way I want us to handle questions is we can write them here. So you just saw me type write them here in chat. It's a good way to keep things organized and keep people from talking over each other. You can just pop them in wherever you want. I'll field them and I'll act as sort of a moderator for our alumni. I'm going to have them answer some boilerplate questions first to get everybody warmed up. But before so this is for accepted families only. So everybody on here is sitting on offer, and they might end up being one of these people with me making some, you can see, very enthusiastic point this summer. And so all of you have offers. Congratulations. We have the enviable position as an organization to be very selective in who we get. This is also necessary for us to be able to function at the level that we do during the summer, right? We need students who are intelligent, motivated, and importantly, humble, aware of their own strengths and flaws, eager to learn and grow, have a good relationship with feedback. This is all stuff that we test for in our interview. And as you guys know, of course, we test that you're smart as well. So it gets us a really powerful class, but also a unique class each summer that allows all of us to enter this learning mode that I think is really special. And perhaps some of our alumni will talk about. But I want to congratulate all of you on getting an offer because everyone we give an offer to, we develop a lot of conviction around. So what we're going to get to do first is chat with some of our alumni. You can see a few of them in action. A few of the folks that are here are Olivia, Aarnav, Abby, and we actually got some good face shots of them. I don't know why I didn't put Maria on the previous slide, but she's here with us as well. So those guys are going to log in, and I'm going to ask them, or camera on, and I'm going to ask them our first set of questions. Again, Aarnav, Abby, Olivia, Maria, thank you all so much for taking maybe 30, 45 minutes out of your Saturday to join us. I know it means the world to the families. It obviously means the world to me. Luckily, this probably won't surprise anyone, but I did get to seed questions out to, some of the boilerplate questions out to the team to get us started. And what I'm going to do is there are 2 of them. So this will allow our alumni to speak a little bit about their experience, and then you guys as families can start popping in questions in the chat here. That's in the lower right area that pops up. So you can pop those in as everybody's speaking, and I will popcorn over to them. I'm going to start in alphabetical order. And so I'm going to ask Aarnav the first question, but then it's going to pop over to Abby, Olivia, and Maria when we're done with that. So Aarnav, question for you is, what was something that you got out of Futures Forge last summer that was a kind of a surprise or was unexpected based on what you'd read from the website, right? So what did you get that the website doesn't quite explain or fully color for you?
So when I was looking at the website, one thing that was fairly obvious is that interaction was key. All the projects you were interacting with someone, and at one point or another, I would need to be communicating. And for some reason, it didn't click with me that I would need to be good at working with other people. And it really set in place after the first challenge where I was like, oh, I need to actually be good at communicating my thoughts and understanding what my teammates and I want. And that was something I kind of developed over the course of the 2 weeks. And I was really able to learn how to work in a team and what it means to be working in a team. So that's something I believe that was unexpected to learn throughout those, like, just by looking at the website.
Last year, we didn't even have teamwork on the list of skills that we focused on because we were focusing on much more atomic stuff. But when we got feedback from our students in the middle and at the end of the course, everyone was saying like, "Oh my gosh, I'm learning so much about feedback." So it was actually like a bit of a surprise to us that it ended up rising to the top. So that makes a lot of sense. Abby.
So something that I learned that was kind of unexpected, or not really because it is advertised, but just the idea of feedback in itself and like the fact that we get real feedback, I think is what I want to speak a bit about because you do notice that the website mentions that we'll be working a lot with feedback, but I don't think it really hit me how I guess real and like impactful the feedback would be. So the feedback that you gain from this course and like every single challenge and just the daily conversations you have with the people that you'll be with is like actually like real feedback. So sometimes it can be kind of harsh, or it can be unexpected, but it's always feedback that's designed for you to improve on. So when I went into this, I thought feedback would be kind of like the basic feedback that you get from maybe your peers when you're doing peer editing in school, or like a report card comment from your teacher, but it's actually very different from that. And so you get like industry feedback from the professionals that will be guiding you along in this course and like really, I guess, deep and personal feedback from all of your classmates as well.
The only color I want to add to that is that this is the alongside some early challenges to get everybody like in the sense of, or like normed to how we do things. We have a couple modules just on feedback because it's something that we need to introduce and train, in part because, excuse me, in school, like a couple things happen. One, typically if someone comes up to you and says, "I have some feedback for you," everyone feels like, "Oh no, what did I screw up? Like what went wrong?" Right? Because we only get that feedback when we've like fallen below some kind of arbitrary level of good enough. Which is of course tragic because we could always be learning from the feedback that's reflected to us by what people are seeing around us, even if we were stellar, right? Even if what we did was awesome. And then and some of that feedback of course should be reinforcing as well as constructive. Here's the stuff that I thought was really good because we want to learn that as well. And that deep personal feedback Abby talked about is I think like in school sort of by design to keep everybody like feeling okay, to make sure that like self-esteem doesn't get damaged, and to make sure that nobody weaponizes it. Feedback is often pretty surface level. And so that's tragic as well because it robs us of the ability to learn in real depth, both from people in a coaching position like me, but also from our peers who can look at something and say like, "I don't think that was your best," right? And it can be like, "Oh," right? But when you're in an environment where that's expected, and where everybody sort of understands that the intent is that we're giving this as a gift, the amount of learning that's possible from each experience is amplified and multiplied. So thank you, Abby. Maria.
Well, first of all, welcome everyone, and thank you all for coming here. I'm just an introduction a little bit about myself. I'm actually an international student from Spain, and something that I really enjoyed about Futures Forge in my time there was the ability to work in amazing teams. In school, where I'm from, I was used to working in teams because now it's like the trend, a lot of team presentations, team projects in school, in high school and in university, because it's what you're gonna have to do in the work life. But my teammates in school were unmotivated. They were not very interested in the projects. And something that really shocked me and surprised me about Futures Forge is that everybody was so invested and so dedicated to their own improvement that the projects that came out were really a team's effort. Everybody put in something that they were good at, and we compensated our strengths and weaknesses all together. So it was really fascinating to experience what a good teamwork really was and to see the product that came out of there.
I know nobody wants to be hearing from me too much right now, but the thing I want to add to that is one of the things we've sort of discovered that we're putting into our book on teamwork that we're probably going to crank out by the fall, or have published by the fall, is that high talent motivated students tend to be in situations where they get put on a team. Let's say there's 4 people, and everybody knows that the high talent, high motivation student is there. So they go, oh, the other 3 go like, oh, thank goodness Maria's on our team. Maria, what do we do? And like half a second in, Maria knows what to do, because like the nature of the challenge at school is quite simple, in part because it has to teach to the full denominator, right? And and then Maria says, okay, yep, here's what we do, right? There's a dominant strategy for the talented student to just say, yep, this is what we're doing. And then like 2 of those students say like, great, thank you, I'm going to just go do that. And then one of the students says, great, thank you, I'm going to go look at TikTok. And then eventually everybody comes back together and smashes it together, and you have a project. And at Futures Forge, right, this isn't what like great work looks like in your one's future, right? Like if you want to go like work on cool problems, build cool projects, new companies, new products, etc., you need a very different kind of team collaboration. And so what we do at Futures Forge is we flip the script, right? Instead of a really easy challenge with one motivated teammate, you've now got a team of teammates who match your talent and match your motivation. And you're working on a challenge where when people ask, what do we do? Everyone goes, I don't know yet, right? I don't know yet. I don't have an answer yet. Or if I do, I'll probably learn pretty quickly that it might be a red herring, because that's not what the real world looks like when you're working, when you're working on complex problems in the future. And so we want to develop a new mode of teamwork that is really hard to develop in most schools. So thank you, Maria. And finally, Olivia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia, and I actually live in London in the UK. And one thing, a lot about Futures Forge really surpassed my expectations, but I would say specifically, one thing I didn't see on the website was the amount of independence that you get while you're there. I think the facilitators really treat you as an adult, like you're really expected to stay on top of your own schedule in a way that you're not really done in school. Like, of course, you have some flexibility and a lot of independence as a high schooler, but it's very different in the way that Futures Forge is set up in terms of like breakfast is on your own time, like all your activities and extracurriculars that you still want to continue while you're there are all on your own time, and you're really expected to step into that role, which I think taught me so much and prepared me really well for coming back to like my senior year in high school, and also in terms of like university and preparing for my thinking around that level of independence and the like responsibility and the trust that the facilitators place in you to be able to take care of yourself and do so responsibly really changed my whole outlook on like my future planning for the next sort of 4 or 5 years.
I think I have less to add on that one. Other than this, I remember one of my favorite stories from last July was there was like one of the we all live with the roommates. One of the rooms like they just missed their alarm and they showed up like 90 minutes late, and I think they were assuming that they'd get in trouble with the adults, right? Because that's how adults deal with this stuff most of the time. It's like, I'm the enforcer, right? You're going to be in trouble. And we looked at them and they said, you got to go. Don't apologize to me. I'm fine. But what's the consequence? What's the damage that's been done with your team who's had to like run without you, right? And there was this like holy smokes moment that like there's no absolution coming from, there's like no punishment and no absolution coming from the adults, right? The facilitators. What we have to do is kind of like face the music with our team, with our peers. And so it shifts that dynamic as well. So I guess that's the thing I did want to add. Cool, thank you. I actually didn't know, for everyone, I didn't actually get these answers ahead of time. it's kind of it's intentional. I didn't want to be editing them at all or editorializing them. So second question that I'm going to roll with everyone, and again, audience members, you can add your questions in chat. So far, I actually have none as far as I'm aware, but I think people are enthralled and they'll think of them after they hear from you guys. So my second question is this, and I sprung it on my alumni pretty late yesterday, is what have you taken away from Futures Forward that you're still using today? And the reason I want to ask this question is that, you know, everyone who's read the website has a sense like these skills are critical for work, right? For getting into the workplace, for your internship. And sometimes parents ask me, like, is it even premature to be focusing on these as much as we do? And so I wanted to get a sense of, you know, are we learning stuff that we then kind of mothball that we're going to pick up later when we, you know, when we get into the workplace, or are these skills things that we can use to accelerate our development through high school and into college? Because we've got some students here in high school, some already, you know, some who have moved on into college. And so that's why I asked that question. The order I'm going to choose arbitrarily is Abby, Olivia, Arnav, and then Maria. So Abby, take us away.
I think I'm going to highlight two things that I really took away and still use. The first is making connections with people. So specifically the emotional intelligence aspect of what we learn. So if you've been on the website, you might have seen emotional intelligence is one of the things that is being pitched throughout this course. And I think it's something that you don't ever focus on in your school's curriculum, because I feel like school focuses so much on like the hard skills behind like learning math or science, where like emotional intelligence is kind of just left to the side. You kind of need to deal with like how to connect with people. And I think the skills that we learn in like about how to connect is something that I use very actively in my own community. So like how to make people feel welcomed or feel important or comfortable in like discussions, for example, is something that's very important. And through those connections, I've gained like a whole array of opportunities that I never even expected to gain. And I think it all comes from that ability to connect. The second thing I learned how to do is kind of it's to like pitch myself, if that kind of makes sense. So at Futures Forge, you learn a lot about yourself. So as much as you learn about teamwork and leadership and time allocation, you learn a lot about you as a person, your personality, and what you can bring to the table. So kind of giving myself that self-diagnosis and knowing how well I work kind of helped me a lot in interviews or even just talking to people and networking, because I knew about myself and I knew how to tell my story in a way that's appealing for others and how I can gain opportunities based on the way that I just talked about my experiences. So I think those two things I use very actively, and it's something that I'm really glad I got to learn at Futures Forge.
Olivia, did I say you were next? Okay, good.
Yeah. For me, I think it's some of the other alumni mentioned feedback, and obviously not everyone around me in my school has also like gone to Futures Forward and understands that relationship with feedback, but it's made me be able to like put myself out there and ask my peers for feedback. So if I'm working on a team or I'm doing something and I want to be like, hey, like, is there any feedback you have to give me? Or like, was I taking over too much or not doing enough? Like, how could I like have improved this relationship for the next time we work together? And being able to ask for feedback and then also receive that very positively and sort of see it as this like gift that they're giving me in order to work on myself and improve for the next time I work with anyone, really not just them, really helps, like has really changed the way I approach just like teamwork in general, and making sure that how I can develop by asking other people for that feedback as well. It doesn't only have to be reflective, because you don't always catch everything you're doing on your own, and being able to ask other people for that sort of support to help yourself grow has been really pivotal in the way I approach teamwork.
Arnav.
So, building off of what the other two said, feedback was what led to the skill that I use the most. It's because it's the most personalized to me, and it really shows what I'm good and weak at. Feedback was able to show me, oh, this is what I should capitalize on, and this is what I should work on making better. Like a lot of my activities revolve around public speaking. I'm presenting every other day and I'm in front of a lot of people. And one thing I was able to learn from my feedback was I'm a strong speaker, but there's still some things I can work on. And those pieces of tips has allowed me to improve on these little tiny habits and make my speaking even stronger and even gain confidence with my speaking. And I believe like even for you, it might not be the same thing like public speaking, but you still get something out of it because feedback is personalized to what you do. It's about what are you good at? What are you bad at? And so it's always something you can apply because it's just all about you. How can you be a better person? How can you make yourself stronger and believe it yourself?
Brilliant. And I do actually have some commentary because I think I forget who mentioned it, but that like feedback is a bit underrepresented on the website for how big a part of the course it is. We mentioned a little bit in curriculum about and in the coaching section, but there are two reasons, it's maybe three reasons it's so important. Reason one is again, with school, compared to school, we're mostly flipping the script on its head. So instead of lecturing to students about like, here's information that you need, and now you're going to go prepare to turn it around, analyze it, think about it or answer problems about it, answer questions about it, write about it, and turn it around back to me as the teacher. The way we flip that is to say, here's an open-ended challenge or goal, and I'll talk about some of those later after I let the alumni go. Here's an open-ended challenge or goal that you don't know how to how to accomplish yet. Now, here's some resources you can use. But what we do is we let students perform. The facilitators are observing them, and we're preparing our feedback about what are we seeing in these skills that we're developing. Where are we seeing strength? Where are we seeing gaps? What's the stuff that we want you to work on next? And the rate of learning from a system like this is incredibly fast. To Arnav's point, it's also very personalized and custom, right? So it allows us to actually use the same system with everybody, but give everybody a customized growth path, right? Which is something that, again, generally you're not getting in school. So that also, because it's, because of that system that stretches, right, and exposes what to work on and exposes where that strength is being developed, where we're making progress. But also because it's personalized to you, finding your bottleneck, right? The rate of growth that can happen, that happens in the course is much, much faster. And that's why we have this quote I love from Zabak, which is, you learn more in 2 weeks than you did in 2 years of high school. It's not because our lectures are better. We don't have them. But then I guess that third reason is what we just heard is that this is being able to get feedback and use it is a persistent skill that is going to increase the rate of development and rate of growth in all future learning opportunities, and helps you discover that almost everything is a learning opportunity. And so I'm very pleased to hear that you guys are still using this as much as you are. Okay, finally, Maria, what you got for us?
Well, first, as Erik has mentioned, I want to remind you that feel free to leave any questions that you have for us in the chat. Don't feel nervous. Like, we were in your position just a year ago. No question is dumb. Even the smallest or most basic thing that you're wondering about, we can answer you. So please make use of that, because we're here to help you. And in any way that we can answer a question or doubt, we're here to help. And then regarding my answer, I would highlight what Erik has mentioned also before regarding how in high school, tasks are smaller, projects are more basic, and you're able to perform that by yourself with no need to change your mindset or change your mentality about learning about a topic. But as you head into university and then join the workforce, you start getting more challenging and complex problems and projects that you have to work with. So something very useful that Futures Forge has taught me is how to divide these huge problems that, for instance, every challenge that we faced every single day, you write at first and you had no idea what you were gonna do. Like, you could be working in your team, and as Erik said, no one had any idea. And it's not just like okay, I will figure it out in 10 minutes or in half an hour. No. You could spend like 3 hours in the morning without having a clue of the route you were going to take to focus and target that specific problem, challenge, or whatever you had to work on that day. So it really helped you, first of all, learn about patience, which is so important, especially in our day and age. I think everything is so immediate, with social media, with the internet. We are used to having everything come to us so easily that we don't not learn the importance of hard work and perseverance. You get a task and you ask ChatGPT, you have it done in 5 minutes. So it didn't really teach you how to be persistent with it. And in Futures Forge, these tasks are so complex, and you can reach and target them in so many different ways that it really requires a lot of background knowledge. So you really spend the first hours just researching and analyzing data. And then it's so beautiful how all the pieces in the puzzle come together as the day moves forward and your presentation time approaches, which is around the afternoon usually. And also it's so beautiful how everybody in your team makes contributions and gives their unique point of view and really helps build the final product. So I think something extremely helpful that Futures Forward has taught me is this ability to be able to have a very big task and have it in small pieces, so you don't have to tackle the whole thing in the beginning, but work piece by piece and start building your own big picture. Also, very important is to look at the whole picture and not be too focused on a small detail instead of having in mind the whole project. And it's something that's really been helpful in university, in pursuing biomedical research in that as well, to be able to see the whole thing and not be stressed about not knowing the answer just at the first glance, which is something that in high school we're used to. So I would say really this important skill that will serve you, and even in daily problems that you encounter in your life, and especially as you move forward with your education and in the workforce.
I'm feeling a lot of, you guys might see some emotion on my face. I'm feeling a lot of, obviously gratitude, but like just pride I'm very proud of like what we as a like a Futures Forge collective, have like managed. And there's a saying from Zen Buddhism, which says the student and the teacher together make the teaching. And why we are so, like, this is ultimately why we are so selective. Like, we could have a much bigger group, we could process a lot more students, we could bring in more revenue, but all of you here, you can see the caliber of student that we have, and that we make sure that we have, and the growth that we see, and the learning happens is possible because of that. All right, so I have scheduled everybody here for 15 more minutes, all of our alumni here for 15 more minutes. I still have no questions. Now, if you're struggling with the chat thing and you actually, we got one. Thank you, Jack. All right, Jack's gonna kick us off. What happens is as soon as a couple come in, they flood. What was your favorite specific project you were part of at Futures Forge? Great. Does anyone want to jump on this? I'll just let you raise a hand and go. Okay, Olivia, thank you.
On the maybe the second day in the morning, you sort of, after flying and having a small introductory session, you sort of jump right in, at least we did, and we were like just told to sort of build a roller coaster that sort of carried a marble, and whichever marble like spent the longest time in the roller coaster would win up to a certain limit, like 3 or 5 minutes. And that was essentially the only instructions we were given. And it was just like such a shock, the difference of the type of projects we were going to be doing the entire time compared to just like what I think a lot of people expected, the more sort of very structured, like step-by-step instructions. And you're really just like thrown in there. And I think it really caused our team to, first of all, get very creative with the way we were approaching the problem, but then also it was a like bonding experience for us, because like we were all so shocked by just like the premise of the project and sort of how we were even meant to like approach it. And I think it really helped us, everyone really in the whole program, get to know each other really quickly, because it was so different. And it really was a way to like completely like shock our systems almost and really dive right in from the beginning. So
Sweet. Joe asks, can you provide an example of a task challenge? Although it could be one of the modules, right? Because some of the other thing we do besides these challenges are modules on a topic. One of them is learning about ourselves. And so does anyone feel inspired to share one of the challenges or modules that like had the greatest impact on you? That's what Joe asked. I'm gonna pick Maria.
Yeah, sure. For me, it was personally actually one of the modules, the one that we learned about our personality traits, because we're used to like kind of knowing, like you get to Futures Forge, kind of knowing who you are as a person, like you've encountered some challenges in your life, you know how you tackle challenges, how you react, if you get very stressed, if you get paralyzed, if you tend to postpone everything until the last minute, and you kind of know these areas that you need to work on once you get into the program. But it is true that at Futures Forge, you learn about yourself at a so much deeper level. On the one hand, we have a module about your personality. We take a super complete personality test. Like I've taken other personality tests before on the internet that you find on social media, that your friend tells you, oh, let's take these to see what personalities we have, blah, blah, blah. But this one was so complete. Like I remember so many questions, so long, but then the results are so precise about how you are and how you face different challenges in your life, which ended up being very helpful. And then the ability to comment on this with your mentor, with your coach. After the sessions every day, we have one-on-one time with a specific coach from the team. I had Erik. And I really enjoyed talking about the results that I got and diving deeper into how my personality was. It really helps you see that you're not limited to how you face, I don't know, a math problem, but also how you face a problem in your personal life, how you react if you're more adventurous, if you're more introverted, extroverted, and how that's affecting your ability to lead a team, or how you should change your mindset, and instead of being this leader dictator type, you should be a more gentle leader in order to have a higher impact on your teammates, or how you should also learn to delegate. Even though perhaps you have leader qualities, which was my case, you also need to delegate and trust others in your team, and let them lead sometimes, because it's also enriching to have this kind of symbiotic relationship with your teammates and work together on the different challenges. So I would say learning all of that about myself was very enriching. Also, I think the test also pairs you with famous people or celebrities that are like the same type, and that was very fun to know what celebrities or like movie characters have your same personality, and then like talking with your friends like, oh, who did you get? Like it also has a fun component that it's really nice to have in the summer program, because at the end of the day it's very hot outside. I don't know, in Fahrenheit I would say like 30 degrees Celsius, and it's really fun to not lose, you know, the engaging part of the summer program, and be able to also talk with your friends, and it's kind of nice saying, I don't know, Olivia, what did you get? And then learning, oh yeah, that really matches with the vibe that I got from you, or the time that we spent working together. That really comes to show how different people work in different ways, and we need to tackle problems in different ways, and our ways of thinking are so diverse and so different regarding our cultural background, but also our educational background and everything. So it's very useful to improve how you work and how you face the different projects and the different challenges, and then improving upon that to know how to work as a team all together.
Sweet. I realize I missed Krisha's question at the beginning because two popped in right away. So Krisha asks, what do you wish you knew before starting the course? And if you could redo something during your course experience, would you do anything differently? I'm going to send this to Aarnav, and then Abby, I'm going to send the question about leadership to you. So Aarnav, what do you wish you knew before starting the course? And would you do anything differently while there?
Before starting the course, I believe you don't need to know anything. It's just about the mindset that you have when you're going in. For me, I would say I had a pretty open mindset, but it was somewhat closed during the first few days because I wasn't really active about learning new things or giving it my best. And that's the thing I regret because the more I was opening up and being more active to feedback and comments I was receiving, the more I was able to learn about myself and learn about the others around me. And that's what I encourage all of you to do. Like, be open about the entire environment. It might be new and it might be something you're not familiar with, and that's okay. Just try to give it your all. Just make sure to take in everything and give out all you have so you could make the most of this opportunity, because you'll find out pretty soon after you leave that the lessons you learned there are actually really important and you're actually using it pretty often in your activities. And you might not think of it because some of these ways can be in like really niche activities, but they do help and they'll always come around and help you. And you'll end up regretting it if you didn't take the time to improve those habits or those skills in the 2 weeks you're at Futures Forge.
I think everybody who gets to Futures Forge has to, we talked about how long we spend just teaching teaching how to like work with feedback well. There's a lot of like unlearning that has to happen from what happened in the world around us. And I went through the same thing, right? When I started learning the system, which Nat taught me, Nat, my co-founder, I'll get into him after we let the alumni go. Samuel, I'm going to answer your question real quick. How many projects are there and how long did each take? There are 9 challenges. Most days the challenges run from about like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. when we then do presentations. Everybody presents and we get feedback from each other. That's most of them. But then as we get further along, challenges stretch out and some of them last multiple days. And we're like doing them in parallel with other stuff. So the complexity of like managing multiple challenges at once increases. Starts to look more like a job, right? Where you might have multiple priorities all at once. So generally it's like a 5-6 hour block for the early challenges, and then the later challenges get longer and bigger, and there's the option to work on stuff overnight as well. Muhammad asks, and this is for you, Abby, in part because of the like coaching conversations you and I had. I remember you had some specific questions about this for me. How has Futures Forge helped you personally in leading, especially in school clubs or honor societies?
Yeah, I love this question because I remember right before I was about to leave Boston, I sat down with Erik and I was like, I think there's something seriously wrong in the way I lead my teams. And so we had that conversation, and I think the way my leadership thinking changed is like there's like a very specific story experience from the camp that kind of goes along with it. But essentially, I had realized that oftentimes at school, the quote unquote leader is usually the one that can speak the loudest in the room, or has like can raise their voice the most, and they're the most outgoing. And there's a lot of times where you kind of like overlook some of the quieter people, even though they have a bunch of like really brilliant ideas. So I thought that was a problem in my own leadership, where back in my community, I was more of like the louder person. And I realized that maybe I had overlooked a lot of the people on my team. So that specific realization came from one of our challenges at Futures Forge. So after I kind of realized that, I went back into my teams, and there was a very drastic shift in the way that we started operating. So a lot of our like team meetings became much more discussion based as compared to like just task delegation. So everyone would get the chance to, like say what they thought about the situation, and then we like decide on a course of action. Other times where I choose to give certain roles to people that they might not be the most familiar with or the most comfortable with, but they clearly have an interest in. And that's something that for some reason I haven't done before. But I think you'll get to realize at Futures Force that you're working with a lot of different leaders in your team. And it's very difficult sometimes to juggle the different characteristics you meet because everyone leads in a different way. And you're trying to figure out like how should we all progress together. So I guess taking that all back, you just get a broader perspective of the different sorts of personalities and leaders back in your own communities. And I think you'll very naturally shift the way that you talk to people at the end when you go back home. So yeah.
Great. Oh, I'm glad I picked you for that one. Although I could have picked anyone, I would have been good too. All right. I'm going to shunt to Olivia. Is there anything from Nicole? Is there anything about the program you would have changed? Yeah, is there anything you would have changed about the program? What's great about this is Futures Forge, we love getting feedback as much as we love giving it. So we got a ton of good stuff, both from the June session and the July session. We made some changes between the June and July session. I actually think there was some great movement we got out of that. And then there's a bunch of stuff we're changing this year based on like getting really rich feedback, because students get really good at giving it. And so there's actually a good list of stuff. And Olivia, I'm gonna let you pick whatever you want about what constructive feedback you had for us about what to improve.
Okay, so I guess I have two, and one is kind of a cop-out. Being the first one is, I remember at the end of the program when I was thinking about my friends, I was like, oh, I wish it was longer. Like, I wish we were here for another week, which I think is definitely like a bit of a cop-out answer. But the second thing that I sort of thought of during the program, and at least in the June session, we sort of switched teams into the second week, which I didn't think was necessarily the most productive thing, since you did get really you were just sort of approaching a time where you could work really well with the team that you got used to. However, I think it would have been still nice to work with a different team for maybe like one or two challenges, because you do learn something different from working with different people. It is a very different experience, and you don't want to get too bogged down into I know how to work with this team, so I'm just going to keep doing that. Like in real life, you do work with more than one team. But especially since we'd been there for a week, those teams, choosing them very meaningfully, maybe even based on the personality test results, and trying to pair groups of people together, or even if you see people who are very similar to maybe opposite of what you experience in school, but if people who are very, very active and very willing to put a lot of work into it and improve themselves, instead of keeping those people together, instead of doing the sort of mix and match that you sometimes see a lot in a more educational environment. And I think that could have just added a little bit more to what I learned at Futures Forge, and then help me translate that a little bit better, going back to working in different types of teams back at school. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We decided in July that we were not going to switch teams. And a big part of it was that we did, on our intake, when students register, they fill out what are the areas I want to work on most, right? What I want to improve. And we actually pair teams and coaches based on that. I'm not going to give away too much of the sauce, but on how we do that. But it's designed to create just the right amount of electricity in each team, where people can learn from each other, and there's a mix of strengths, not a spread of talent. We don't have a spread of talent, right? So there's no hero carrying the team, but there's a mix of strengths that students get to discover. And then we mixed all that up, and it was definitely one of the decisions that when we got that feedback, we decided we were gonna stick to teams, and I think it was an improvement. So agreed, Olivia. Thank you. Samuel asks, and I'm going to give this to you, Maria. Is there anything you regret not doing while you're at Futures Forge?
I'm very proud to say that I don't have any regrets. About my time at Futures Forge, I really went there focused, and as Aarnav was saying before, with an open mindset of, I would say the best thing about Futures Forge is the mystery. I think it was Krisha before that asked, what did you wish you knew before going there? I would say that the less that you know, the better. Obviously, when you join, you get some preparation materials, and then you also join a channel. You can meet briefly the other peers in your class, and etc. But I think the best part of your Futures Forge is the mystery that you will encounter every day. Once you walk into that class, you'll be facing a completely different challenge that you had no idea about. And it's also the magic of it. Because when you get to work one day, I don't know, let's say you work in finance, one day you get to work and the stock is plummeting. And you had not expected this the days before because the stock was increasing. And then suddenly a sudden change happens and you have to face a completely unexpected problem and try to tackle it in the best way possible. So I would say this is the best part of a Futures Forge, is that not knowing a lot of stuff makes you really be surprised in a good way and really be in position that you're gonna face once you work the workforce of not knowing absolutely nothing about a certain topic that you have to do a whole project on and you have to present it at 3 p.m. And have also this level of intensity and sometimes stress is also that really helps you, because usually, as Erik was saying, like the teams are paired in certain way that compensates. So usually in your team, there will be a person that's kind of, it's very good at calming people down or managing time better. There's always also a person that's like running, like, let's get to do these. And then there's another more peaceful person that will be like, okay, let's plan, let's organize before. And I think that's also really nice, having this compensation and these different strengths. Not talent, as Erik was saying, everybody's talented in their unique way, but strengths and weaknesses. I also, in my team, I'm a very extrovert person. I'm Spanish. I love to talk. So I was like, kind of like super energetic and super extroverted. And my teammates at the end of the program actually like were grateful to me in the way that I kind of asked for their opinions and their points of view that they would not have otherwise shared if I hadn't asked, you know? So it's really, really cool. And at the same time, sometimes when I was like doing a lot of things or planning a lot of things in my head, they were the ones that to calm me down or like help get the whole project organized in a better way. So I would say that the most important thing is to come to Futures Forge with an open mindset and really be open to everything. That way you can really leave Boston without any regrets, because you actually took all the opportunities you were handed. I would say really take the opportunity of the coaching sessions. They're especially helpful with your mentor to work on your specific weakness that you want to focus on. And also you have team coaching sessions in which you can really dive deeper into how your team is performing as a whole and how every member is contributing or not contributing or could be contributing more to a certain part of the team. I would say really, really take advantage of this. Get sleep because you'll need it. And then also enjoy your free time. Some of the best memories that I have from Futures Forge were not actually in the challenges, but after the challenges, it's really nice how Futures Forge, I'm sorry, Erik. But yeah, the challenges were also great. But it's really nice to have time after the challenges to, as I was saying, Futures Forge really brings together a lot of brilliant and amazing people from all over the world. So it's so nice how the program is structured to not, like, the challenges are so intense that you need time to rest afterwards, and getting to know the other peers, your friends in the program, go explore Boston. It's also a way that it becomes a more enriching experience, because you also get time sometimes, as Erik was saying, some projects or challenges run not in the same day but in 2 or 3 days. So in this time, as you are doing other things, you're not so concentrated or focused on the task per se. You get a chance to bring new ideas to the table. I don't know, after you explore Boston, you perhaps came up with a new idea for a challenge, or after you did this fun activity or go to the park or just have a nice walk and go out for dinner and try American snacks or whatever, you can also be well rested and face the new day with new mindset, new opportunities, new contributions, and new ideas. So I would say definitely do not say no to anything at Futures Forge, and that way you can live like me without any regrets, because you literally did everything in your power. You were completely focused on your challenges, but also in your mentorship sessions, and also that time afterwards to have fun and have a really amazing experience in your summer.
I've taken us through, or our time for that first 45 minutes has expired. Alums, if any of you need to boogie, what I want to say is, first, thank you, obviously. And second, just like wave and drop off if you need to run. What I'm going to do is for anyone who wants to stay, I'll run the Q&A 8 more minutes to a hard stop at 5 p.m. Eastern by Aarnav, to a hard stop at 5 p.m. Eastern so that I can definitely let everyone go and also move on to some other questions that folks may have that are more me orientated. And so we have 3 questions. I think we can quickly pop through them. Jack asks, did organized activities run through the weekend? If not, what did you do? I'll give you the structural answer first. Saturday is a full day. Sunday is an off day. And Abby, do you want to tell us what you did on Sunday, or Saturday night and Sunday?
I might not be the best person to answer because I didn't do a whole lot around Boston, but I definitely went out with my friends. We looked at the different cafes, especially that were in the area. The stores, there's one street, I don't remember which one, but it was a whole street of just shopping places. So yes, yeah, we went down Newbury Street and it was really great. We definitely tried a bunch of food, and I think the week that we were there was also Red Sox home game in the area, so there was a bunch of just banners up, and it was super festive, super you could feel the community vibe, and it was really great. But it was also very, very hot those 2 days, so I did end up staying inside for quite some time as well. Yeah.
Olivia, anything you want to add from your Sunday?
Yeah, Maria and I were actually quite close with the program, so I think anything I say would be the same for her. But I think we went to a flea market. We definitely went to Newbury quite a few times as a group for dinner and then for shopping as well. I don't know if we did that on Sunday. We went to Boston Common one of the days, which was really fun, and we got cannolis. So we went to the pizza one day. So we definitely explored a lot of Boston, to answer sort of the other question as well, throughout the whole of the program, because we sort of get the evenings free, so you can go for a walk or go for have dinner, and the public transport is really easy, so sort of get on a train, get somewhere and explore for an hour, and you still sort of get back by curfew. So I definitely feel I saw a lot of Boston in the 2 weeks that I was there and got a chance to really enrich myself in the city as well.
Maria, you want to add something? Go ahead.
I also want to add, because I stood for longer after the program as an intern, and the next Sunday we went with Aarnav and more people to do a Harvard tour, which was such an amazing experience. You can go on Harvard tour, MIT tour. Boston is a city for colleges and universities, so definitely if you're a rising senior, that's something also really amazing that you can get out of this program, the ability to tour some of these universities and learn more from them. And actually our tour guide, she was so nice. She was a friend of a facilitator, and she really gave us an amazing tour and asked all of our questions about the university. And some other people, as Abby was saying, went to the Red Sox game, and it was very, very fun. And also the Spanish football team was playing because it was the final of the Euro Cup. So we also ended up watching that, a bunch of us. There were some England students in the program. I was sorry for them because they lost, but I was very happy about Spain winning. So it was definitely, and as Olivia was saying, we really got a chance to go to the Fenway Flea Market, to explore Boston. It's true that it was hot, but nothing compared to the heat of Spain, so it was okay. So you definitely can do anything you want, and you can also take the chance to explore colleges and universities, and go to a sports game, go shopping, and basically try out different restaurants and spend time with your friends.
And for parents who are wondering how we manage safety with all this, stay tuned. I'll get to that. Because it's not total anarchy at Futures Forge. The last question is, how would you say Futures Forge has supported you during your university application process? Are any of you guys seniors? I know you're not. Okay, Olivia, great. So Olivia, I don't think so can we answer half the question? We're not admissions consultation at all, right? We don't have any special expertise in that, and so we're not coming out and saying hey, we're going to help develop your application, because we don't have an inside track on what Harvard and MIT are looking for. However, I know some people have used Futures Forge in their applications, at least in some way. It's not our key point, right? We're not a resume patter at all. I know Zabek did. I know Alex did. Olivia, just give us the honest answer. Was there anything about Futures Forge that you've used in your applications?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned in my activities list in the Common App, and then also sort of some other applications ask what you do over the summer. So I did put it in there. But I think sort of the main takeaway that helped me with my university applications was that time management aspect of it. I think first semester, senior year in the American university system is like a lot of different things happening at once. And I think sort of the time management skills, especially that I learned that second week of Futures Forge, when you have tons of projects going on at once, sort of mirrors a lot of what the university application process is like in first semester, senior year. So I think having that skill, really like having practiced that skill, allowed me to sort of balance my workload better and also sort of leave enough free time. Because I think a big thing while I was at Futures Forge was like, I want to get my work done, but I also do want to really have free time to explore Boston and hang out with my friends. And I think I applied that same methodology to first semester, senior year, and like getting my work done very effectively to then be able to still have free time and still like be a teenager. So I think that was the main takeaway for Futures Forge in terms of how it helped me just like during that period. But it did also come up in my applications and definitely in my alumni interviews as well.
Renee, go ahead.
I also want
You
to
have
say
2
that
minutes.
regarding Sunday, we also had a Q&A session with the facilitators, which was really interesting because some of them are studying at top universities in the US. So despite what Erik was saying, that Futures Forge is not per se an institution that helps you specifically with the college admissions process, really getting the ability to speak to actual students, current students at MIT, Dartmouth, Tufts, etc. It was really helpful to get an insight, and especially I know for the essays that you have to write and everything, to really get this specific insight about, I don't know, classes or a club that they really enjoying, and then putting that on your application can look very good as you have really done your research, as well as touring the universities can really help. And overall, I was also speaking to Zabek, and he also was telling me that in his application he has been admitted to Cornell. He mentioned Futures Forge. I think he wrote an essay about everything he learned at Futures Forge, which is also such a unique program, Futures Forge, that really admissions officer is going to be surprised by reading that, because they have not written many other essays about Futures Forge. So they're going to be more interested in just reading another essay about university summer school that everyone goes to, and especially how it has helped you in your personal life, as Olivia has mentioned. That is really powerful. Zabek, for instance, he's into sports, he plays basketball, and he was also telling me that what he learned in Futures Forge really helped him be a better leader, better basketball captain, and achieve more good results in competition and in high school overall. So it's just more complete help in your college admissions process.
Well, thanks for adding that. We are at 5 o'clock, so I'm going to add a comment and then thank our alumni and let them roll. Ultimately, a lot of people ask about college admissions, and I have a lot of opinions on this, even though I'm not an expert on it. But one of them is that logos and resume padding are something that college admissions officers are very wise to. So for example, like some of you guys might be sitting on offers to Yale Young Global Scholars, and I hear it's a great program and like a lot of fun, and you meet some cool people. And if you go to their Q&A or their FAQ, one of the questions in the FAQ is, will it help me get into Yale? And they say, no, it won't. And so one of the things to keep in mind is, when you're building your own application, ultimately, like your story of like growth and transformation, understanding and developing your strengths, overcoming weaknesses and growing through those, in addition to like, you want a good SAT score, you want a strong GPA, but like developing that story is something that's like your unique path will make like kind of the right thing come out of that. And would Zabek have gotten into Cornell early without Futures Forge? Maybe. I mean, he's a super smart, driven, awesome guy, right? He may very well have. Probably the answer is yes. But but I was, I didn't end up, I didn't read his essay beforehand, but I did afterward. And I was very pleased with what he put into it, mostly because it just showed me how much he, got out of the program. So anyway, that's kind of my opinion on this stuff, but I'm not an admissions officer nor a formal one. So anyway, Abby, Olivia, and Maria, you've all stayed long. Thank you for staying long. Thank you for fielding all these questions and taking the time. Again, I really appreciate it. I know the other families do too. You guys didn't have this opportunity last year. Thank you for, thanks for just like still being part of I don't know, still being part of the adventure that we're all going on together. So if you guys want to sit around and listen to me, feel free. If you want to sign off, I invite you to. Thank you guys, and have a great rest of your weekend. For those of you still sticking around on the our 2025 acceptees, for those of you sticking around, I'm going to run about 15 minutes of talking at you about some of what to expect during the summer. And then we're going to switch to Q&A. It may take 20, but then we're going to switch to Q&A for you, Q&A for me, questions that are best answered by me as the lead. So a few things worth covering about sort of what makes the program great. Some of it is Nat and me. So this is us. This is Zabek, actually. So rockstar there. I'm the lead facilitator and curriculum lead. So I'm the guy who's like most on the front lines. Nat's our executive leadership, and he doesn't take credit as a curriculum lead, although the curriculum is based on what he did at Stroud, or what he built at Stroud. So I graduated at MIT. Stroud was my first job. Nat was the founder and CEO of that. It's a management consulting firm that just recruits out of the Ivy Leagues and MIT, Ivy Plus. So what we do at Stroud is a 2-week high-intensity boot camp for developing interpersonal, psychological, and cognitive skills in grads to help them become great management consultants. And it's the grandfather of Skills for Success. It's the same. It's based on the same pedagogical principles. He's an Oxford grad, undergrad, Cambridge masters. He likes adventure. He and I have written a couple books together. I won't get into them. I've run a couple startups, including this one, which we sold out west. And the short version is what we would do with Stroud is this like 2 to 3 week induction and have a whole lot of further professional development throughout the year that was always high intensity, based heavily on feedback, based heavily on jumping into very, very challenging work, especially for someone who's like 22, 23, 24, with observation, right, with support, and then getting a lot of input and coaching about how to take the next steps. A lot of stretch. I actually like Stroud a lot. It's great. It's a great organization, but it's where Skills for Success, where our pedagogy comes from. Other things that make it great are facilitators. So lucky you guys, you're going to be getting Maria with you this summer. She's our alum intern joining us. And she is, when she's old enough, she's doomed to be a facilitator at some point as well. And our facilitators that we have locked in so far for the summer, Lisa, George, and Sam are all returning from last year. So I want to emphasize that, especially for the parents. These are all students, MIT, Exeter, Tufts, who could be doing anything this summer, right? And they decided to come back to us specifically because they learned so much out of it and got so much out of it. And so we've got a lot of veteran strength coming back this year, which I'm very excited about. Our 3 new facilitators so far, Kelly, oh my gosh, I didn't put Sam's name there. Anyway, are from Harvard, Tufts, and Smith. And obviously I have the enviable position of being able to be very selective about my facilitators as well. We're going to do a bunch of training in June before you all show up to make sure we're ready to rock. As I mentioned earlier, while tearing up a little bit, our students are the other thing that really make us great. We are very, very selective. And what I always love are the stories of growth and learning. So Vlad, for example, his confidence has spiked dramatically, and I actually know his brother pretty well from MIT, and that has sustained. I have a fun quote from Giancarlo, and you'll get a link to this, so you'll be able to see all of these quotes. Is that Futures Forge turns overachievers into overachievers? I think that's pretty cool. As mentioned, we'll be at BU, and the alums mentioned like the accessibility of BU to all sorts of other stuff. So we're here, and a lot of the historic stuff is here. Newbury Street's here, and Fenway Park is here. MIT is here. Harvard is here. So for those who are where location matters, it's a great location. We stay here. We take class here. We spend a lot of time outdoors here. The pedagogy is the part where you guys have heard about like how much these challenges help us grow when we take them. And that's because of the pedagogy that we run, right? So this stuff is stuff that we've been, as mentioned with Stroud, we've been doing for a couple of decades. And we have a lot of strong pedagogical science behind it. So as mentioned, we drop people in the deep end, and they have to, in this introduction, and students have to guide themselves to being able to kind of like unravel this challenge, either like figure out how to achieve the goal, solve a problem. I'll share a few examples that I think are not going to give away too much. We execute, and then present, get feedback from our peers, get feedback from our coaches. So this is Elisa leading a team feedback and coaching session. There's Arnav. And then spend some time reflecting and integrating what we learned. And we're going to turn it all around to tomorrow. And coaching also includes, so we do team coaching, we also do one-on-one coaching. So we mentioned these personal journeys where we're either discovering a new bottleneck, or we're working on a bottleneck that we've known about for a long time and working to break through. The reason our coaching can be so strong, even though it's not all coming from like a hardened veteran, or just like an old guy, old gray hair like me, is because we coach to our system. Right, our skills are very well defined. This has been defined really well by the academic world for a long time, and how to improve those skills is very well developed in academia. And so we built our coaching around those methods where our coaches are making observations, they're identifying where work needs to be done, and they've got the structure behind them. Including obviously having me about what are the next steps, what are generally, what has science shown are the next steps that someone needs to take in order to be able to grow in emotional intelligence, in order to be able to grow in critical thinking, right? Whatever are those bottlenecks that we're identifying. And so this is stuff that we're not just relying on someone going like, oh, well, in my experience, we did this. Our coaching is actually much, much stronger than just having some old gray hair tell you what they went through. And so this like daily iteration of run a challenge and get stretched, right, using that catalytic learning system and getting feedback and integrating it. These aha moments. Maria is like never gonna live this picture down because it's just like it's so great. They kind of like the like joy in this team of winning is so great, and like breaking through challenges that like when you start seem inexplicable, right? They seem like intractable. And be able to break through and win based on having a eureka moment and seeing how what we've learned and what's changed is how we've grown over the past few days allows us to perform at a high level and break through something that's previously seemed impossible. That's some of like the real magic that happens with this program. And I'm gonna jump to a few examples here because I think there's one in particular we're also gonna get more of Maria in a moment, but people mentioned this roller coaster challenge. And so this is day one, right? And as mentioned, it's a bit of a shock. This is a norming challenge. Now it's going to be different this summer. Why? Because we don't want you to be too prepared, right? The point is not like you have at school to be given everything you need, spend some time preparing, and then come in for the challenge. The point is it's thrown at you and you have to rely on your skills as opposed to rely on a battery of knowledge that you've already absorbed. You'll notice the materials for this are a little bit odd. You do not get a box of materials of like pre-designed or pre-sorted materials. I'm not going to tell you where you get your materials, but it's part of the shock. It's part of how we crack this aperture open to increase complexity, increase novelty, increase the need for creative thinking, mental flexibility, critical thinking, adaptability, and resilience. and integrate that into a challenge that for a lot of students is going to be something that they've not seen much of in the past. And part of what happens is, as we have these aha moments, as we grow throughout the challenge, or throughout the 2 weeks, we have these challenges look more like a real, like what you'd really be doing at work. So this startup crisis challenge was based on a real startup that I had mentored and helped them through a product market challenge crisis that they had. They were not able to sell to their customers. And so we introduced this, and a lot of students go like, Mr. Fogg, I don't even know what product market fit is. Like, I don't know what that word means, right? But of course, like when we've developed this shift in mindset, that just means step one is figuring out what that word means, right? Is researching the definition of product market fit. And by the end of this challenge, this is about halfway through, students are giving really strong presentations about how to alter the strategy of a company, right? Based not on just making stuff up and not just being able to ask ChatGPT, because this is an interactive case study where key information about the market, key information about the company, key information about the product is in the game master, me, has that, right? So they can't just ChatGPT it or research what somebody else did. They have to go through the problem-solving process of discovering what's really going on underneath the surface in this challenge. And by the end, what we're seeing in these great presentations is that students are successfully doing this, and they're successfully developing a meaningful strategy for a startup that they've never been in, right? Which sounds crazy. And I might just be like, you might just think that I'm like kind of trussing everyone up a little bit, but later they're doing the same work for a real company. And that company is actually taking the output of what these students do and using it, right? And this is some of the longer challenge that we have. So we suddenly have high school students who are able to, within a very short period of time, with some very unorthodox methods, if I remember correctly. Maria was an innovator of one of those unorthodox methods, but delivering real work products for real companies that are actually useful, that actually help that company move the needle, right? That is possible. One of the things that I came to believe at Stroud, working with Nat, and one of the things that we believe that we have proven here is that you guys are capable of much more than you believe, or than adults believe of you. And adults will much more than what adults will let you attempt. And you will find at the end of this course, one of the mindsets that emerges is I can approach any problem of any complexity and figure out how to figure it out. I'm going to need help. I'm going to need resources. I'm going to need time. I'm going to need research, right? I'm going to make mistakes, but I can approach something that seemed intractable and impossible and figure out how to figure it out. One challenge that I've run actually for the facilitators that I might actually run this year now that we refine it a little bit is there was a day my car didn't start, and I really needed it to start in 4 hours because I had a long trip, and I had to figure it out. And it didn't start for a weird reason. Like, it was a weird reason that was unexpected. It was not on, like, when you ask ChatGPT, why won't my car start? It's not on that list. You actually have to go through a technical problem-solving process to be able to identify this. Guess what? I documented it. So students can go through another interactive case study where I'm the game master, and be able to figure out through this, which also includes a bunch of research and asking ChatGPT stuff and watching videos on YouTube of Bob the car guy, right? Teaching you a little bit about how these different things work and what these symptoms mean, right? But students can figure out how to fix this car. And the reason I like this example so much is I know a lot of very, very, very smart adults who, when their car breaks, they just go like, well, it's going to go to a mechanic because I'm not a mechanic. And that's where their mind stops. I'm not a mechanic. I can't do it. Right? I see this problem. Really smart people won't even lift the lid off their own toilet to look in the bowl, or in the tank, excuse me, not the bowl, to look in the tank if it's having trouble flushing or if it's leaking. They just call the plumber. and they just spend $200. Typically, it's a very easy problem to solve. But the mindset of I'm not an expert, I don't already know what to do, I haven't already been taught what to do, and so I will stop there, is something that is like super common in adults, even smart ones. And shifting that mindset is something that happens here, and it is the kind of thing that leads to like massive breakthrough performance in college and one's career. Because you go, I don't need to know about this. I'm just going to go figure it out, right? And think about what's possible then. Now, let's talk schedule. You see, this is our middle Sunday. We've heard all about that. These blue guys are our challenges. We heard about learning about ourselves. We heard about the feedback modules. In all of your offer letters are links to the logistics FAQ. I'm not going to talk much about logistics because we're short on time. But arrival and departure are in that. You can see we've got presentations, feedback, reflections. So a lot of time spent on the learning from these challenges, which is one of the things that makes this program different, right? And not just like playing around with robots and saying, okay, that was fun, let's move on, right? As I think Abby mentioned, it could be a little bit tough. All the feedback that you're getting can be a lot. And as everyone mentioned, this is why you learn so fast here. We mentioned social stuff. And so again, I can talk a little bit about what's possible, but we have a checkout, check-in system. We have a buddy system. We make sure we know where people are going. We make sure that people are coming back on time. Sunday fun day, right? We had Red Sox, we had a Harvard tour, MIT tour. And so it does allow us to get out and see a lot of Boston. We'll be sending prep in April. So for those who are coming, there's a battery prep. Maria, it's much shorter this year. We've contained it a lot. It's not the monstrosity we sent last year. And so it's a little bit more digestible. But it's going to make sure that students at least know what resources they're going to want to lean on during these challenges. Yeah, I can go over arriving if we need to. People often ask about the food. The food's pretty good. I don't go out to dinner because I'm a cheapskate. So I just eat at the dining hall for like all my meals for 7 weeks over the summer, and it's totally fine. There are a lot of options. It's BU, it's a 25,000 person school, and their dining hall is operating at full capacity. Whatever dietary restriction you want to throw at them, they've got you covered. So don't sweat that. It is the case that we have a capstone presentation that parents are welcome to on the second Friday. We record them, of course, for parents who can't make it. We've got a bit of logistics. Getting to and from campus is something that you need to plan. We expect you guys to plan, especially you students. There is the logistics FAQ, balances of due coming up for those of you who have registered. And if you need to come early, you can, also in the logistics FAQ. If you have questions about financial aid, I ask them at Q&A. But the short version is, if you haven't filled it out, you are late. Email me and go do it. And great. Okay, so I've blitzed through logistics stuff because it's a little bit more, it's written in a lot of places. And the real goal of this is to get you some color. So I've got 10 more minutes. What I'd like to invite everyone to do is same way with questions before, add them to chat. I'll take them on. I see Maria sticking around. Thank you, Maria. If there's anything where it'd be particularly helpful to have Maria's input, I'll shunt it to you as well.
Well, while the questions are coming, I just want to add on something that Erik talked about, the aha moments, like that picture of me smiling a lot and laughing a lot. I really want to stress and highlight the program's ability to make you progress a lot in such a short amount of time, because you go to the program, like this program is supposedly promising to improve your teamwork, improve your leadership, improve your communication skills, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end of the day, since you're used to what happens in high school, which is that you learn very little in just 1 year, then you say, how am I going to be able to improve this much in just 2 weeks? But the truth is that through all this life changing like mechanisms, atmospheres, environments, teams, coaching sessions, you receive a lot of feedback and you receive a lot of helpful indications and helpful advice, as well as recommendations that really helps you improve a lot in a very few a very short amount of time. For instance, my team, I remember, well, Olivia said her favorite project challenge was the first one, the roller coaster, and that's the one I hated the most. It was the first challenge. I didn't know my teammates at all. Like, we had just met the day before. In my team, they weren't very talkative, so like it was a little bit difficult to get to know each other. It's true that the first day icebreaking activities are great. I remember them being so fun and interesting and such an amazing way to break the ice between the teammates and get to know each other on the first day, so you can like start working the next day. But the first challenge for us, it wasn't it's actually the one in the pictures, and it looks so cool. But it's not just the product that we obtained at the end. It's that one over there with the chairs and everything. Like, we worked so hard on it. But it's not the product, which looks so cool and so nice, but how we tackled the challenge. I think these days, since we didn't know each other, we didn't know our weaknesses or strengths, we were kind of lost. We did not delegate well. We were trying, like the four of us, to do everything all together, and we were running. Like, we had lunch so fast that day because we did not do well with time management. And then it literally changed a lot. Erik was our coach, and I remember having a long talk that day after the challenge and really analyzing what had happened, what we did right, and what we had to improve on. And for the next challenges, we started improving and iterating on all of that. So the next day we did a little better, but still it wasn't it. And then after all the coaching sessions and after trying and failing, and so many diverse challenges, it really helps us see a whole and a very broad view on all the areas we need to improve on. So I remember the aha moments, that picture of me. It was really a moment. I think it was like in the middle, Thursday or so in the week, in the first week, that we reached this point that we were working in synchrony. We knew each other. We had been through a lot of stressful times, and it's true that there's a saying that you really get to know a person once you travel with them, or you have to go through stressful times, because it's when your true colors shine out and how you face this difficult situation. So we really knew each other in so many different situations. We knew our weaknesses, we knew our strengths, and we knew how to use them to perform our best. So in these challenges, by the end of the week, we were killing it. We were on our A game. We were tackling the problems much more easily. Erik said that you cannot use ChatGPT. That is true. We use something we like to call Erik GPT. And the problem with Erik GPT is that you cannot give him just a random problem. You need to do some research before asking him questions. And then all the data that you get from him, which is not always what you hope for, because at the end of the day, when you run a survey, you don't always get the answers you had hoped for. That's what happens in real life. So then you have to research more and come up with more questions, or since you, I don't know, make a model of a project and see that it fails completely and in the worst way possible, you just have to think, oh my god, then I need to redo this whole thing again, and I have to think even more outside the box. When we had to come with a list of a lot of ideas in the morning, and we had chosen the best one, the one that seems unbreakable, then we run it through Erik GPT, and it's horrible. It doesn't fit the market, it doesn't fit the customer, it's horrible. And then you will have to change your mindset completely and rethink this whole thing and try again and try again. So it's really helpful to see yourself and how you tackle different problems and real world issues in many different ways. So it's really, you improve a lot. I remember one of our coaching sessions with Erik, once we had reached this point of beautiful synchrony and really amazing teamwork, and he was very proud of us, and it was such a beautiful memory that I hold very dearly, because we were working as a true team and collaborating and thinking together and contributing everyone in their own possible way. So it's really these moments that you think about afterwards and then try to implement on your life after Futures Forge that make it such an amazing program. And also regarding the food was amazing in the dining hall. I'm from Spain, so I really enjoyed that picture of the waffle is mine. I really enjoyed my morning waffle, because we don't have that in Spain. And then, as Erik has said, there's a lot of options. The lunchtime, we always had it in the dining hall. And even though for the dinner time you had more freedom. Most of the days we ate there, and then we went to explore Boston afterwards. So it's really got a lot of options. I even asked for olive oil as a good Mediterranean student, and they provided it for me. It's also in the picture. So they, whatever you need, your dietary needs or whatever, you can ask for, and the stuff are so nice.
We have a question from Joe. How many people applied for Future Sports this year? The number exceeded 13,000 in 2024. It's going to exceed 5,000 this year, which I'm very pleased about. I know a lot of people ask about what's our acceptance rate. It's low, but I also want to, I just want to say, like, I think acceptance rate is like a nonsense metric, like a total BS metric, and everyone's taught to care about it. Now you want to have a selective course, you want to be somewhere selective, and you've seen our, testing requirement. That's one of the ways that we are selective, and it's one of the reasons our acceptance rate is not even lower, because we actually deter people with scores. We tell people, if you don't have the score, don't bother, right? And so our acceptance rate could be even lower if I wanted to play that game. Yeah, we have we're gonna have over 5,000 applications this year, which I'm psyched about. We're of course expanding the program. So it's not the 72 from 1,300 last year. It's going to be more like 200 from 5,000 this year. We've got a couple minutes left. Any other questions? And obviously, we don't only give out 200 offers. Some people, like all these, they get our offers and they decide not to come.
Yeah, and also I think it's very precious that it's quality over quantity. At the end of the day, even in the workforce, it's much better to have a 4-people team that works well, that works in synchrony, that knows each other well and can tackle these very complex issues than a, 20-people team that is not working in synchrony. Everyone is doing their own thing. They're not trying to work together. The final product that they get, it's going to be way worse, because at the end of the day, these challenges, these projects require a team effort. You cannot do well in a challenge working all on your own, or everybody in the team working on their own or doing their own stuff. And that is something that we as students come to realize. I remember a lot of students, and me included even, when you first encounter the first challenge, it's like, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to work on my own. And that doesn't work, because the challenges are made to force you to work in a team, because they're so complex and so difficult that you all have to be together at once. Because you're gonna encounter so many challenges inside the challenge itself that you're gonna have to face and tackle as a team all together. And maybe someone's better at doing research and another one is better at presenting, and blah blah. Like, you obviously distribute these tasks, but at the end of the day, it's very enriching to work together and contribute each other to the team effort as a whole. And the product that comes out of that is way, way better than it would if you had done it just on your own. And also, after you present, you have a round of questions and some feedback from the facilitators and Erik. And sometimes you don't know the answer, but one of your teammates does, because they did research on that. So it really comes to show how you cannot have all the knowledge on that topic on your own, because it's such a vast topic, such a vast problem or issue, that you need from the others to really contribute to it as well.
That was perfect. I have nothing to add, and I know we're at time, so I'm going to wrap. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know a lot of you guys, some of you guys stayed late or stayed to the bitter end. Thank you for staying to the bitter end. I hope you learned a lot from this. I hope it answered your questions. If it did not, you have my email, so feel free to, if there's stuff you want to cover about logistics, about financial aid, etc., shoot me an email. I will get back to you, probably in the next day or two. Maria, thank you so much for staying late and for for spending so much time answering questions and adding color. This was like, I think, even more valuable than I could have imagined. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, wherever the heck you are. Thanks for coming, and I'll see many of you this summer.
Also, I want to add that if you have any questions, feel free to DM the Futures Forge Instagram. Or if you're, I don't know, afraid or you think your question's too basic for Erik, just feel free to reach out to the Instagram and we can send your question to an alumni. And even if you want to speak to one of us more, just shoot an email to Erik and tell him, and he'll be happy to redirect you to me or whoever you wanted to ask more questions. So no question is wrong, and feel free to ask anything you want. At the end of the day, we're here to help and prepare you for this amazing experience that we hope you decide on taking.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maria. All right. Good night, everyone.